have a love for physical things, you know. I like being able to hold stuff.
Like, I think that's like one of those like core differences between you and me. Like, if we look at hobbies, you collect more things than I collect. Like, you're collecting hobbies, or you have way more than I do.
I wouldn't say I even collect anything really. Like I have a collection of things. I have a collection of pens. I have a collection of keyboards. But that's just like basic dude who went to Mass Drop 1 starter pack, you know? It's like they just have all these things. It's headphones and writing utensils and keyboards, and it's like the nerd hobbyists entry into trying to, you know, get a collection of something. But I don't collect anything. I just like stuff. It's a problem.
Well, I mean, like, okay, for people who don't know, Joseph.
Have we introed yet? Are we recording the podcast yet?
I assume we're gonna have to like move some of this stuff around.
You know, not once have I ever done that. There have been times where we've talked before the show started, and I was like, oh, that was probably a pretty good conversation that I can edit into the end. No, I just cut the whole thing out. You know, they're just in the home games archives, aka this hard drive on my desk over here. I mean, we could just intro. We could do like, okay, well, you don't know because you didn't hear the last one, but I fade in to one of our pre-intro conversations that happens just before the intro. So it's me talking about reinstalling Windows or whatever, and then you say, okay, are you ready? This is like a minute in, and then we intro. We're kind of doing that now, but it's way too long of an intro. It's like 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it's like the cold open on like a
that's what it's
TV
called.
drama.
Yeah, except it's 7.5 minutes. It's gonna be like our Ozymandias, that Breaking Bad episode that doesn't start for like 10 minutes in, or the credits don't start.
I was gonna say this is like one of our best episodes, clearly, just from this piece. But yeah, we can. You good to go?
Yeah.
All right, man. Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 13 of Patch Notes, the Home Games podcast.
Almost.
I write it down so I don't mess it up, and then I messed it up because I can't read. I also can't do math because this morning I texted Joseph like, "Sorry, I'm late. Like, I'm ready to go," and he's like, "You're like 50 minutes early," because I completely messed up the time difference calculation.
You were 2 hours early. You sent me a message at 8 a.m.
Oh my god.
So we agreed yesterday that we would. I'm Joseph, by the way. We agreed yesterday that this would be done at 10 in the morning, my time, Seattle time, and you are in Arizona, so you are in special Arizona time that no one else follows. And yeah, you sent me a message at 8 a.m. saying, "Sorry, I'm late." I was very confused.
Oh my gosh.
But it's all right.
Yeah, I'm Yazeed, by the way. I think this is the first episode that you got mentioned first.
That I got what?
Your name got mentioned first. Normally I say I'm Yazeed, and this is Joseph, your regular hosts or whatever.
Yeah, it's true. We keep it different every time, you know? We keep switching it up.
Yeah.
Like this time, for example, your mic just cut out for me, and we're not even 10 minutes into this yet, so this will be a fun one.
God dang it. Hey, hold on a second. Let's try switching the region. I'm going to try switching the region.
I don't know what that means.
I don't know.
That's the subtitle. Episode 13, Corn and Wheat and Potatoes. Today is January 19th, 2020, by the way. We're recording on a Sunday. Right. This is another first for us.
Is it? Yeah, you're right.
Oh, wait, is it? Didn't we record on a Sunday with just me and you in Tucson? But that's different, because that was a Tucson one.
Yeah, that was in the Echo Cavern.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're recording over Discord.
Just try to keep it more like detailed every time. This is the first episode where Joseph's wearing mismatched socks and blue pants.
Wait, you wear socks when you're doing the podcast?
No, I'm not wearing any socks right now.
Oh.
Yeah.
We'll keep track of that. I wear slippers in the winter.
No, I like the cold. I like feeling alive. You know, the exhilaration of the cold weather.
So I like when it's cold, but I don't like being cold. If that makes sense. Like, I like being warm when it's cold outside.
Oh, yeah. No better feeling than being warm when it's not warm. Like having 4 blankets on you and some cocoa or something. Yeah. And Bad Boys 2 is on the television. And the remote's next to you. You don't have to move.
It's like we won. Like, we won the war against Mother Nature in the winter. Because we're just like, It's fine. Bears go to sleep. You know how big a bear is? And we just do whatever, man.
I'm listening to what you're saying, trying to like think about what I'm gonna say to respond. You know, like what's this conversation? What's it? And then you ever seen a bear? You know how big a bear is? You just kind of keep me on my toes. You know.
Well, you know what I mean, right? Like bears are so big, and they're supposed to like so good at like surviving things, but they go to sleep when it's cold outside, and humans are just like, oh, I used to wake up at like 5 a.m. to get to work by like 8 a.m. or whatever.
Yeah, that's true. People are more resilient than bears. It snowed here this past week, and I stayed inside for 3 days. I'm not one of the resilient ones.
No. I'd be so stoked if it snowed outside. I love playing in the snow.
It was good snow too. I spent 15 minutes taking snow off my car for the first time in my life. I've never had that experience before.
Oh my god.
So that was cool. I don't think I want to do it again though.
No?
No.
You wouldn't want to move to like North Dakota?
I'm not against it. I think it'd be cool to have like some like secluded place out there, you know, in the middle of the cold, nice weather or whatever. Except it's not that nice. I think the problem is that I don't like having to do things just in general. Like I didn't like taking the stuff out the car because in that moment I needed to go somewhere in the car, and all this is doing is adding like a chore for me to do, you know.
Yeah. And you probably also didn't schedule for it either. Like you probably weren't in your head like I gotta allot time to cleaning snow off of my car.
Exactly. I thought I'd be back in like 30 minutes, and then 15 minutes in I was in the parking lot still.
That sucks. I do not know that feeling. It snows so rarely in Tucson.
I think it made national news that one time it snowed in Tucson like 20 years ago. I remember it was on Good Morning America. And
20 years ago, we were in college when that happened.
No. I mean, well, there have probably been multiple times, but the one I'm thinking of that it actually made Good Morning America is back when I watched Good Morning America, which is when I was in elementary school. So that must have been 15, 20 years ago. Yeah, the original meme of the absolute size of this, or the what is it, the size of this lad, absolute unit, like that original sentence is hilarious, and I think it being attributed to just cats or whatever, or just fat animals, it means it's losing a lot of its magic.
Yeah, I agree.
It's like
I agree. We're meme connoisseurs at this point. We criticize memes.
Yeah, welcome to Patch Notes Meme Hour edition.
So what's happening, man? Pause here for the what's happening music. Just letting you know.
Yeah. I have no idea how to tell how, like, I don't know how long that song is. I know I could edit it to meet whatever the gap is, but to see how the sausage is made a little bit for the listeners out there, I just copy and pasted. I copy and paste the original time I edited it for the first time we put in music. And with the fade out and all that kind of stuff, I copy and paste that same thing over to every episode. So it's been copied for like, what, 6-7 times over now?
That's my favorite. I knew that, but it's still one of my favorite parts. Also, I really don't like the phrase so they can see how the sausage is made. Just like, isn't sausage notoriously awful to find out how it's made?
Yeah, it's like you take everything and you grind it up into one big mushy thing, and then you shove that mushy thing into a casing and someone eats it.
I mean, they cook it first, but yeah.
Yeah, the basic process is...
Can you eat raw sausage?
I mean, it depends on what's in the sausage, but if it's like a pork sausage, no. I mean,
what happens if you eat raw pork?
You die. Well, not die, but I mean, you probably die. You get salmonella, which, I mean, you die.
Oh. But can't you get that from eating uncooked eggs?
I think you can, but I don't think it's as dangerous as eating like raw chicken or pork. Because if you eat raw chicken or pork, you're pretty much guaranteed to get some sort of disease. If you eat raw eggs, you know,
hey,
it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it makes you a bodybuilder.
Exactly. Rocky did it, so it's safe. It's fine.
Have you ever eaten a raw egg?
I have not. I mean, I've eaten, barely cooked eggs, but not a raw egg.
You never just like cracked an egg into a
mouth
jar and then drank it out of the jar?
No,
I haven't either. I don't know why I'm asking you this. Like I have. I don't think I would like to.
I mean, there's raw egg in cookie dough. When you eat raw cookie dough,
I don't eat raw cookie dough.
Yeah, well, that's apparently the bad thing if you do, because you can get some sort of sick, you get sick from it, but people eat it because it's delicious. But you can also
I don't know,
pasteurize it, and so it won't get you sick.
Oh.
Anyway.
Oh.
So
I really like cooked cookies, so I don't want to waste time eating uncooked cookies, you know?
they're called cookies, not rawies. You know?
Yeah. Why did you become a Southern for that one?
I don't know. I imagine every opinion that you have that I don't agree with is a Southern guy yelling it. I have my what's up notes. It was your what's. I saw your notes and there's nothing in there for what's up. So
Well, so no, usually I leave like what's up open because we kind of just like flow in what's up, and if things come up, like there's no way I would have like planned out that we're going to talk about cracking eggs into somebody's mouth.
yeah.
I'm not, honestly, until I go back and re-listen to this episode, there's no way I'm going to understand how we even got to this point from where we were at the start of this episode. It's like before this episode. So like right, we got on this call. So now like less than an hour later, we're talking about eggs.
Less than an hour. I think it's been like 20 minutes. It's been 20 minutes.
Well, of recording. But I mean,
like
right when we started our call, I think it's been about an hour.
Got it.
Maybe.
Okay. Well, I have my 2 bullet points for what's up. So.
Oh, go ahead.
It's just video games, and then I reinstalled Windows, like I was talking about last week.
Yeah.
And
how'd that go?
it was fine. I just hate that I had to do it, and I thought it didn't work, and then it did work, because I don't know how to read stuff on my screen very well. And I looked back, and it had worked totally fine, and I felt like a total dingus. Anyway, it worked. I just had to reinstall.
We learned actually a lot about that you can't read this weekend.
Yeah, I'm not really great at paying attention. I'm discovering as I get into my mid to late 20s, you know. But yeah, no, it was fine. I just had to reinstall everything. So like reinstalling Steam, reinstalling Origin, and all of my games and Epic Game stuff. All my Windows computer is for video games and recording this thing and editing stuff on Audacity. I need to make it only that, because anytime I try to do anything like for productivity or whatever, it ends in me doing something like this, screwing up my computer and having to reinstall Windows. So video games only is my new thing.
Video games only.
Yeah.
And you don't write home games on your Windows computer?
Absolutely not. Oh my God. I hate writing code on this thing.
And what did you have about video games? Because I don't have, I mean, for me, Windows has treated me well, but I also don't really, like, I just leave my Windows install for the most part.
Yeah. Oh, also, Steam recovered all my game installations just fine, but Epic Game Store doesn't do that very well, and neither does Origin. It doesn't, but it doesn't. Anyway, just
all I'm saying is that if we ever go to market, like putting home games out for sale, I'd rather have it on Steam than on the Epic Game Store.
I don't think it could ever even work
Origin.
on Steam because it's like a platform thing. I don't think you could run like
if we hosted our own servers.
Well, I mean, what would anybody even buy? You know, it's like you would pay
like
for a
the
premium
base game
service.
has like 5 games, and then each other game was like $1.
Yeah, but the code is all open source, so it's true. Like you could just run it yourself. But I don't know.
Yeah, but not everyone's gonna want to run it themselves. Is what I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but then that's the whole idea that I have about like a premium home game service, where maybe one day someone can just pay us for like a, joseph.homegames.link or homegames.io or whatever, and so you have like a room reserved.
Oh, that's smart. I like that. I like that better than selling it on Steam.
Then also, I was thinking if we ever wanted to make money. Also, I'm gonna leave this in the podcast just so people know what I'm thinking currently. Think about like. I have it running on an EC2 instance. Homegames.link or homegames. What the hell is it called? Pico de Gallo is running on a T2 Micro EC2 instance, like the cheapest one you can get, and it's never gone above 50% CPU. It's never even gone above like 25% CPU, and I think that's pretty crazy. So like it's running all this stuff, but it's just running a node process. It doesn't need a lot of power, at least right now. So if you think about some like the idea of like a home games box, and so you get some sort of pre-configured Raspberry Pi basically, or some other sort of very small computer where you plug it into a wall, and then you do the whole thing where you log into it and then give it the Wi-Fi password, and then it connects and whatever, and then you just have this box that'll constantly be running home games within your local thing. So homegames.link will always work. You don't have to have a dedicated machine for it. It's literally just like a console, but it's just a pre-configured thing that will update itself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. That makes sense.
I think that'd be cool. Anyway, what are we talking about? Oh, reinstalling Windows and then video games.
Video games.
So I played video games kind of for several hours this past week, which was nice. I played a few games. One of them is called RICO, RICO, like the racketeering and whatever thing in the U.S. government, whatever. House Flipper, future classic video game House Flipper. And then I played a little bit of Dragon Ball Z Kakarot yesterday, like 30, 40 minutes of it. Because it came out.
Okay, so I want to hear about Dragon Ball Z Kakarot first, and then we'll go down the line that way.
Okay. Well, I'm not like I mentioned, I think on the previous one, I really love Dragon Ball Z The Legend of Goku on Game Boy Advance, Legend of Goku 2. That game is incredible. And I don't know a whole lot about Dragon Ball Z or its story. I had a friend came to visit like my nana's house like 15 years ago, and he left his VHS tape of some Dragon Ball Z special, and I like loved that one. And it was something Goku fighting Cell, going Super Saiyan 30 or whatever it was. I thought it was super cool, but that's about it. I don't know a lot of Dragon Ball Z stuff, so I have no idea what I'm talking about. Is what I'm trying to get at. But this game, and I don't know anything about this game. This game seems to me like it's a retelling of the entire Dragon Ball Z story from like the beginning, because it introduces characters like Gohan is Goku's son, Piccolo is this guy who used to be against Goku and now is not, and Master Roshi and Bulma and all these people. It's like introducing you to every single person, and I would imagine that that's like the beginning of Dragon Ball Z or whatever, trying to go for the whole thing, because I've seen stuff like Vegeta and Cell and whoever else are in it, so it just seems like Dragon Ball Z, like the whole story, but kind of as an RPG where you run around and you fight guys, kind of like the fighting style in the newer DBZ fighting games, where it's like you're kind of just like jumping and moving all over the place and fighting in the air and whatever. It's like that's the combat system. And then I went fishing with Gohan, and then I caught a fish, and then we flew on that cloud thing to Master Roshi, and he was all, "You have to train every day." And I was like, this game seems cool, and I turned it off.
Is it on PlayStation or Xbox or PC? Like I actually have no idea.
I'm playing it on Steam, but I think it's on all of them. I think it's on PlayStation, Xbox, and all that. But yeah, I think it looks really cool. I like the art style. It looks like they've always looked like that cartoony, whatever type of look. So it doesn't look dated. It just looks like the show.
Yeah, no, I hate The Office with a passion. Actually, I think that show is garbage.
Very hot take.
But I was gonna leave this for the ending because I was gonna bring out the fact that I just started watching The Good Place this week. I'm on episode 6.
We could save that. I mean, because we're blowing through this list and we lost track of everything. Dragon Ball Z was the video game.
Yeah.
Okay. My other games. Okay, House Flipper. House Flipper is incredible. It is a video game. It's a simulation type thing. It's a first person thing, where the whole game is basically buying houses, fixing them up, and selling the houses. That's it. That's the whole game. So you start off.
So it's literally just a House Flipper.
Yeah, House Flipper.
Okay.
It's on Steam, by the way. This has been a good relaxing game for me because at the end of the day, like I want to play a video game, but I don't want to think, and I don't even really want to play anything. I just want to do something. And so the whole game is you start off and you don't have a whole lot of cash, so you start doing these jobs like renovation jobs and contracts, whatever, for people. And so it'll be like, oh, paint my walls, pull my weeds, clean this trash, that kind of a stuff. And then it eventually gets more complex and you get paid more. You get like a few $1,000 for each job. And then eventually you can buy your own house. And then you buy a house and it's the same thing. You just fix it up, whatever. There's no rules. There's no one directing you because it's your thing. It's just however you want to build the house and paint the house, and you want to replaster walls, or you want to furnish and decorate and put a TV and wherever, all that kind of stuff. Or you can leave it open, or you can knock down walls, and you can do kind of whatever you want. It's just that there's different types of buyers, and you have to kind of appeal to those types of buyers. So it's like, oh, this is a family with 3 kids, so they'll need like 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms or whatever. And then you'll sell to people, and then you just you flip houses. It looks kind of bad. It plays kind of clunky. Like, it's not a great game, but I love that game. I've been playing a lot of that game this past couple weeks. House flipper.
So are you at the point where you already own a house and you're fixing it up, or you're already past that part?
I've bought and flipped 2 houses so far. So like that.
When you get your own HGTV channel at the show.
The one thing I think, so like it doesn't pull any real data. So, or it doesn't, it's not realistic in any kind of way. It's like a house is 50K, a basic house is 50K. This nice house is 100K. It's like, okay, but where is this? You know what I mean? Like, there's no real market data or whatever to make that stuff more interesting or to make it more whatever. And also, every house looks the same. It's like the same layouts and the same whatevers. So it kind of is repetitive in that way. But I think it'd be fun to be like, oh, well, you know, I bought a lame house in, you know, outskirts of Casa Grande, then I flipped it, and then I bought a house in San Francisco or whatever. And then, like, you can kind of do that whole thing and everything would be different. But that would require, like, that would probably be really hard to make that game, because this game you could tell is like pretty cheap and that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of assets in it, not a lot of stuff. But I don't know. I think the game is super cool, super relaxing, just watching the numbers go up of the houses that you buy.
Yeah. How similar is it to? I think it was called Passport 2.
That's so funny. Yeah, I was gonna say that game is a lot like Passport 2 for me, where it's just it's kind of like the game is putting some sort of value on you doing something artistic in a way, where like Passport 2 is you literally making paintings and selling those paintings, and the game has some sort of brain to look at how valuable that is to certain types of people, and kind of what House Flipper is too. It's just the art is a little less explicit. It's like, however I laid out this kitchen, how many radiators I installed in the whole place, what kind of tiling did I use in the bathroom, that kind of stuff. It's just, I don't know. It's fun. It's been fun.
That's super cool, man. That sounds like a lot of fun. It sounds really relaxing, actually.
Yeah, I put it on like I mentioned a few episodes ago, I have the Ethernet cable running through the apartment now so I can play games on my TV. And I spent like an hour painting the walls of this house and replastering all this stuff and, basically just going wall to wall, every single part of it, fixing it up. And Synovia just watched me play for an hour. And it's super boring. You know what I mean? Like, for me, it's not fun. Like, it's just relaxing. It's just like you walk into the room, none of the walls are painted. When you leave the room, all the walls are painted. That's like the thing in my brain that makes me want to keep playing it.
I think you're going to really enjoy when you own a house. Because it's very much like that.
Yeah. But I don't like, because there's actual effort involved there. In House Flipper, you just hold the cursor over the wall and it paints it in perfect vertical bars,
I see.
I've painted walls before. Anyway, I like knocking stuff down. I like taking a sledgehammer to a wall. That'll be cool. I don't think I'll have to do that in any house.
When you need to take a sledgehammer to a wall, let me know. I'll swing by and I'll at least get a good one shot in, because I've never even swung a sledgehammer at something.
Oh, dude, it's an experience. I forget what it was, but I was like maybe 9 years old, and someone that, like, a family friend was changing around their backyard, and they had this giant brick wall going through the middle of their yard that they just wanted to remove for the space. And so they gave me and all the other like 8 and 9 year olds sledgehammers and told us to just go knock it down.
Ooh, that sounds a lot of fun.
It was the best feeling.
Also
ever.
Dangerous.
Yeah,
but,
probably. Whatever.
I wonder if you would like to get into boxing.
I tried to join a boxing gym around me, but they didn't have classes that I wanted to take, and all of them were at like 4 a.m.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I would love to get into that kind of thing.
We should get into BJJ together.
What?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Oh. Okay.
I'm realizing what that sounds like out of context.
Okay, yeah.
There's a lot of hugging involved.
Oh yeah, I've seen videos of BJJ before.
Oh, I'm sure.
My last game is Rico. It's a shitty first-person shooter thing. It's not even that shitty. It's just, it frustrates me because I've been playing it every day, and I really like it, but it's procedurally generated, and towards the back half of the like single player run mode, the levels aren't laid out in a reasonable way, and you can fail them very easily as a result because they're not made well, I guess. And that game sucks, but it's awesome. I keep playing it.
So what's
I'll take a
if you had to describe it like a similar game, like what game would you say it's like?
I mean, it's just like a basic, permadeath, one life. You get a run, like rogue-like or rogue, whatever like people say, where you can get upgrades that last you for that run, type thing. And it's a first-person shooter, and you walk
so it's
around.
Like a mix of Binding of Isaac with Doom.
Kinda, yeah, or yeah. It's like a first-person Binding of Isaac, and then there's like this graph basically that you follow for the single player. So you have a case, and so the case is killing some guy who's guilty of some RICO charge, something, I don't know, mob boss of some sort. And so there's like 4 different paths in this graph to get to the end. You start off at the first node, and then you have to get to the last, and the last is always the boss, and there's different paths you can take to get there. And so some of the paths will be more lengthy, but they'll have fewer bosses, or vice versa, or whatever kind of stuff. And each level is just kill this guy or whatever, and then, or clear out these whatever computer looking things, like just shoot these boxes, and then that's the level, or collect this evidence or whatever. And like I said, it's totally cool. It's just that towards the back half, the goals start to get like, defuse these bombs. You have 2 minutes to defuse all 5 bombs on this floor, and the floor is laid out in this crazy way because it's made by an algorithm, and it doesn't like, for example, you'll clear out most of the map, and you'll get the 4th out of the 5 bombs, and in the room where the 4th bomb is the like computer that you have to destroy to unlock the door for the 5th bomb. But the 5th bomb, you have to go back around the entire level and like go back through all these doors. You can't memorize a level because it's all procedure generated. So you're looking at this map trying to find where all the doors go to the last room, and you just don't have enough time. And it's like, oh, this is a cool idea, but this is the last little bit where like all these variables that you have coming in, like for how long I have to defuse these bombs, how many bombs there are, and the door layout and all that kind of stuff, don't make this fun anymore. It just gets frustrating. And it's like, I'll keep playing it. I want to beat it. It's like, probably, I say it sucks, but I keep wanting to play it, so I guess it must be something not bad. But it just frustrates me so much that last little piece is bad.
Yeah. Do you think that games have become more a way for you to turn your brain off than for you to way to like be like super engaged?
I think there's so many games that I find myself playing the games where I want to turn my brain off because that's the stuff I seek. You know what I mean? Like there's a Dragon Ball Z comes out, and it's a 60-hour RPG with cutscenes and dialogue and menus and trees and whatever. It kind of demands your attention. And I'm the kind of person who will play that for 30 minutes and be like, this is really cool. I can't wait to play this one day, and then turn it off and never play it again. Because I want to turn my brain off so often when I'm playing video games. But I think that's a me problem.
Yeah, I was asking specifically about you, not just in general. That's a big topic in general.
Yeah, I mean, I love playing gun game. When I have like 10 minutes, 15 minutes before we have to leave for something or whatever, I'll play gun game in Modern Warfare because I'm pretty good at it, and it's quick. So I just want I want the numbers to say I was first place, and I wanted to do it quick, and I want to not have to worry about it tomorrow. That's like why that stuff is perfect for me. But I miss the days where I had the attention, like the ability to focus on a crazy RPG or whatever, watch cutscenes and stuff.
That makes sense. The only thing I have to add to this conversation is that Cyberpunk got delayed.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
And I was emotionally devastated.
For like 6 months, right? Or 5 months or something like that.
Yeah. Do you know what really sucks is the way I found out about it was I was actually on Twitter seeing if you had posted anything on Twitter. And I saw a tweet from Helen, and it was just the Cyberpunk's been delayed to whenever, and I was just like,
ruins
So I
your
clicked
day.
the article and I read through it, and I was just like,
Yeah. That's cool, though. I
I
mean,
guess that's not a bad way to find out, because that's just how you find on the internet.
yeah.
But I don't know.
I mean, if they're
I
making
don't
a
like
game-
getting my news from Twitter about games.
Yeah, especially because it's just like everything moves so fast on Twitter. You're just like, what? What happened? You see people like complaining about it before you even see the news about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was a little sad boy about that.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I was looking forward to this game.
Yeah. I also didn't tell you while I've been playing Rico, because I put the sound off. That might also be another thing that might contribute to me not knowing where the bombs are, but that's not my fault. I've been playing or listening to the Giant Bombcast, like from the first episode. So like my favorite podcast, listening to the start of it, and it's funny like hearing how bad their audio quality was. And on the second episode, they had their friend Alex Navarro join them for the thing, and you could hear him in the background of the other mics, but he also has his mic, so you hear like an echo. And then there are parts where they talk over each other, and they clearly edit out the mic track of the one person saying something to be, like to silence the one track or whatever, but you can still hear him talking in the background of the other one, so it lets you know that they edited out him talking over the other one. And it's just stuff like that I never noticed before, but I do that now. And it's funny because I do that now, like in our stuff I do all these things. And so I don't know, I just thought that was funny, and like getting some sort of inspiration from that, because I think that those early days of the Giant Bombcast are like my favorite podcast thing ever.
Yeah.
Like talking
That's
about
cool, man.
talking about parking their car at the place across, like the restaurant across the street from their new office they're setting up, and how the restaurant owner found out that they don't go there, so they had to move their cars or whatever, and like talking about drinking Gatorade Tiger and Gatorade, like all that kind of stuff. I just love that. So it's like a 2-hour podcast. They're not talking about video games really at all.
Yeah. That, I think my favorite podcasts that we do are the ones where we have a lot to talk about with home games, but by the time we get to home games, it's been like an hour and a half.
Yeah. And we've had that conversation before of like, I don't know if people want to hear that, but no one said stop so far, so we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, I like when we do really long ones, but I don't know.
When we're hitting some long ones.
Yeah, well, because to me that means like we were both in a good headspace for the episode. When it's short, I think it's because like one or both of us just aren't there, mentally. We're just trying to like
get it done.
We're like there to like talk about the home games thing and then just kind of like dip, I guess.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's just like for me. That's maybe how I feel like if I'm not like super riled up and ready to rock and roll.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
I think in the earlier ones, I intentionally edited out a lot of non-home games talk, because I was like, well, no one wants to hear this. But it turns out no one wants to hear this either way. So we can just kind of do whatever we want.
Valid, but also sad. No, that's fine. I don't know. We do this for fun. As long as it's fun for us.
No, I know. I just, I think in the beginning I was like, well, this needs to be home game stuff specifically. And now it's like, well, we'll kind of just talk. And I think that's what I originally wanted it to be too. I just didn't know. I still don't know what I'm doing. But in the early episodes when I was editing, I was trying to be. I like cut a lot, I guess. Yeah.
I got you. Do you want to do Song of the Week or home game stuff next?
We'll do home game stuff and then Song of the Week.
Okay.
Just to keep.
Because then after that we have What's Up Part 2.
True. Yeah.
Okay,
oh God. Oh no! Wait, never mind. I was like, I forgot to get a Song of the Week, and then I looked at my page and I have a Song of the Week.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So I'll go first. Square. So if you follow the Home Games Twitter account, which you should, I posted some GIFs of where I'm at with Square. Basically, I have squares that move. They're rectangles, really, but they move across the screen, and they're robots. And if you run into them, you will die, but you don't die right now. I have your start and end position laid out, and I have your little boy who moves when you use your arrow keys. So I have like the guts of Square done. If you are looking at that GIF though, and you're wondering why I was saying like it's dangerous to let Yazeed code, I use Giazzo or Giazgo, however you say that.
It's Giazzo, I think.
Yeah, and apparently it has an upper frame rate cap, which is faster than Home Games was rendering those squares moving, or slower than those Home Games was rendering those squares moving. So on my screen, it looked like I had a pink square sitting as hyperspace happened all around it. But in the GIF, you can clearly see these squares chunk across. So I'm a little bit disappointed about that, because I don't think there's a way for me to like show people how hilariously bad I messed up that timing. Because basically what happened was I did a set interval that calls a function to like move them around, and on the timing on there, as I was looping through and creating each like lane, I divided 250 by like the height of that lane, basically. So it'd be like 250 divided by 5, 250 by 10, all the way up to 250 divided by 95. So, like, at that point, it literally was just, like, zooping across as fast as it could possibly render, I think.
So, like, a 2.5 millisecond delay.
Yeah. Like, every 2.5 milliseconds, it was jumping one square across. So, like, literally, for me, it was just a constant stream of, like, yellow and gold going across.
Nice. I saw the thing that you posted.
It
was terrifying. It was very fast, and it looked very cool. It looked complicated. Like the most visually complicated thing I think that I've seen.
We've had. Yeah. It really wasn't that complicated to do. It's just like I said, it's just a set interval. I will add that to my notes. My sorry, I was just making sure I had that up. Yeah, I'll add it to my notes that I'm keeping on the side. I don't know why I put that in quotation marks. I am actually keeping notes on the side. I'm legitimately keeping notes on the side. So I'll add it to there and just kind of like how that code works. But I wanted to ask you, can we change the rate at which tick gets called?
Yeah.
Because originally I wanted to put that in the tick function, but that function just calls as fast as it can, as far as I can tell.
It calls every 16 milliseconds for 60 FPS, but I have a thing in there. It's not in the branch that you're based off of, but in your game's metadata, you can set the tick rate.
Okay.
So,
yeah, because then I can move that set interval from being in the constructor to being in there.
Yeah.
Which I think is probably a better move.
Yeah, I have a whole bunch of squisher and all that kind of stuff changes we can talk about later. But yeah, that will be a thing that we can do in the future. Also, when I said complicated, I don't mean like logic or whatever. I mean, it's the only thing I've seen where you could tell that there's logic in game entities being moved in the screen, and they all have a pattern that they move at, and then having the player being able to move within that. It looks, I mean, in terms of like gameplay, it's the most complex thing I've seen in home
thank
games.
you. Yeah, I'm super stoked with the progress on it. Yesterday, I definitely went through like the whole emotional process of like, should I be even writing code anymore? Like, why am I so boosted? All the way to like, oh my god, I could play this game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like really for me right now, all I just need to add is collision.
Yeah.
So that's like my next. So like this coming week, I'll add collision. Next week, I'll probably look through. I'll probably play Frogger again and see if I'm missing anything. And if I'm missing anything, I'll take a look at adding it in.
Yeah. You gotta have a squish animation for when you get hit, because Frogger, he gets squished when he gets run over.
Oh, that's true.
Speaking of squisher.
Speaking of squisher.
You could have a thing called the squisher, but it's make it even more complicated, you know? The squisher squishes the game node that is a squisher. That
is the squishing. Yeah, so that's where I'm at with Square. I'm super stoked. Really enjoying working on it too. It's more relaxing than I think people just listen to us talk about it is to write code for it.
What do you think of the interface? I know I've changed it a lot, especially the stuff that you have. We'll probably be talking to a whole different thing when I'm done. But like, what you have right now, what do you think of the interface?
I have a ton of logic in my constructor, and I have some functions in there like move guy. I have no idea what that does, but when I don't have move guy function in there, it doesn't do anything, and I'm not sure why, but that's just a true statement. So there's little things like that. Like I wish I knew, like without having to like go down the stack to figure out like why I need this.
I don't think you needed move guy. I think move guy was bound to the on click of another game node, and it was just, or it might have been unused or from a deleted thing. But I don't
know. There's definitely like a function that I have had to maybe I'll go back through and I'll see what functions actually need to be there now. But I've had an issue where if I don't have certain functions in there, pressing the arrow keys do nothing.
Yeah, you got to have handle player input or handle player key down or whatever the hell. Anyway, yeah. There's a whole bunch of garbage in there, but
yeah. So sometimes it's just a little like it's not exactly clear like what I need. Yeah. But I think that'll come like when we have a real library with an explanation of functions and like they're stored in an object, so you can read like JS docs or something like that on them.
Yeah.
I think that'll be like a big advantage is just documentation. But otherwise, I mean, a lot of it is just writing JavaScript, and I enjoy writing JavaScript, especially Node. So
and as far as
it feels good.
Sorry, go ahead.
It feels good. No, that's it.
Good. As far as constructing the tree, like even in the new way, I haven't really done anything to this, but you're just constructing a game node and you maintain references to the stuff that you're going to append to. So if I'm going to add a child, unless I'm adding the child to like my base or whatever, I guess like knowing the point at which you're adding to your tree is all entirely managed by you. Do you think that is good?
Well, so I think I brought this up last week or the week before, but when I was first constructing it, I ran into an issue where I ran into an issue where I was constructing them out of order, and I was like, why the heck isn't this rendering? And it was because things were laid on top of it, and it took me a while to like realize that I have to put them in the right order. But then when we were talking about it, you did mention that thing about how Z indexing feels like it's a cheat almost in CSS to like bring stuff to the top, and I kind of agree with that. But I still think that we need to have a way of inserting into the tree at a specific spot.
You can.
Because I can see a world where we want to insert into the tree like after some event happens, and if you insert it at the wrong time or whatever, it won't show or like it'll be hidden underneath something else and you may not want that. So I think maybe we do want to have a way of like pushing something up the stack. Because for me right now, everything is just being added under this.base. It's like the base game node contains the starting and ending line. It has the players, and it has the players' end locations, and then it also controls it also holds the array of NPCs, which are just like the squares that are moving across the screen. So everything for me is stacked into the base.
But if
nothing
you
is outside the base.
I mean, like when you say an interface for like moving something up, couldn't you, the developer, reference the like root of whatever this subtree is going to be, where you want to do all of your, basically you want to have all your characters, or you want to have your whatever, and you structure your tree so that that thing is rendered after the base, so it's a child of the base, and you maintain a reference to this kind of subtree root, and then you add everything you want to render there. And to move up something, I mean, maybe we can have like a find within the tree for something of like a node ID, but I would also say it probably makes sense to have, I think what we're missing is like a reference manager of like types of things in the tree, like not reference manager, but you know what I mean, like
yeah. So in I keep bringing this up because like I still think that like at its base this is pretty similar to like we're running into problems that React also ran into, because React also ran into this problem where if you want to reference something down the tree stack, it becomes difficult. So they have a function that gives a reference ID to a node, and then you can store that externally and reference it via that reference ID. So we may want to have some other, like some logic similar to that, where we can append a reference ID on request as opposed to every time. Because I don't think we always need a reference ID.
But we have one. Like when you create a game node, it gets an ID.
It does. I meant like a way to externally get that item in the tree via that ID. Like, sorry.
So that's just a find function then at the root. But then
just traverse the tree.
Yeah, but then it's like, I guess I don't know where I fall on this, because it's like, yeah, but the person making this knows, okay, well, this dot player root equals game node whatever, and then you reference this dot player root somewhere else, and then this dot player root dot children dot for each dot, like whatever, to find the ID. You could do that filtering and finding on like yourself. And I don't know how I can make something that's useful for people in that scenario besides a find.
Yeah, I think that maybe we want to leave that. Like, that's just an idea that I had, and that's mostly because I didn't realize that the order of creation was actually important. But I should have realized that. But what I was going to say was maybe we should address that if we ever run into a place where we have to have it. You know what I mean? Like, let's only address things when we
run into
them.
But
let's not only address things when we know we're going to have to deal with it. But let's not, like, because we can always come up for, like, what if, blah, 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 blah. And then we write code for that, but then no one ever uses it. Like, not even us.
Yeah.
So I'd rather address it, like, if we run into a very specific circumstance where it's like, oh, you couldn't structure your tree for this reason. And, like, we agree that those are valid reasons. So we're going to have to add something into the way that we do this to, like, make that work.
Sure.
Because I'd rather us not have extra functions, because I think at a certain point you get to the point where there's just so many functions to use that you have no idea where to start. And then you have a different problem of, like, well, now you have to, like, write examples of, like, how to use each of the functions and stuff like that.
Well, I don't know. I think adding a find to the game node class, which is just 4 lines of JS going through its children and finding something, whatever, like, that's pretty standard. I guess that's what I'm getting at, is that it's pretty standard to find a child in a tree. All we're doing is making, like, a game node class and adding some basic tree functions within them. And the core question that I think I have, at least, is, do I want someone to, in the game, keep track of everything that's important to them, or do I want to have a way for them to find things within the tree that are important to them, or traverse the tree in a way to get what they need out of it instead of maintaining that themselves?
Yeah, I'm of the opinion that they can hold on to it or build the tree for right now, because I can't see, in my head, I don't actually have, like, a real circumstance yet, or possibly ever, where you are searching the tree for an ID when you could have just stored the node itself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, why would you? But we might run into a scenario where they don't want to store that. The other thing, too, is, like, because our tree is not a binary search tree, we lose the... our runtime is n, because we have to traverse the whole tree to get to any individual node, except for the root node. So would be an n time traversal, which that does add time on the server side to figure it out. And I'd rather us keep that as smooth as possible. Yeah, but the other thing too is, like, if we give people a tool that isn't great, or, like, there's a better way to do it, and they're using that tool instead of using the better way to do it, you know what I mean?
Isn't in-order traversal of a tree always n?
In-order traversal of a tree is n, but if you were doing a find in a binary search tree, it's on.
Yeah.
Or,
okay.
N,
so you're saying as a case against adding a find, because we don't have this structured in a way to make finding
fast. Yeah. Or whatever. We at this point are just, like, searching through every node looking for this thing, as opposed to, like, really
unless we wanted to,
like, narrow down,
keep it ordered and all that kind of stuff and rebalance. And I don't think I'm interested in doing that. Like, someone, if they wanted that, they could build their own binary search tree with the game nodes and do that whole crazy thing. I don't think I want to focus game nodes core to be towards that.
I agree, and I don't think giving people a tool to find on index is better than just suggesting that they hold on to an array or an object of nodes that they want to hold on to.
Yeah.
Because, like, for my NPC nodes, I just have an array of them. I have an array of NPC nodes, and that's how I hold on to them. And it's like this.npc. And if I need them, I'll just loop through them and do whatever I need to with them.
Yeah, and then there's kind of the whole core of our actual broken stuff in the listeners, which is that the squisher adds itself as a listener to every node. So whenever any node updates, it updates from the root intentionally. So even if we fix this, like, whole subtree performance and finding out whatever and only updating what you need to and blah, 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 it's still just going to be sending out the entire tree in order as a squished array to the client.
Yeah.
And I don't know about performance and stuff quite yet because we don't have a lot of good ways to tell how it performs besides just visually looking at it. I started some stuff I'll talk about later, I think, but we don't really know how much that's hurting us yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't think adding it's a good idea yet.
Yeah.
We may need to in the future, but for right now, I don't think we need to.
Yeah, I think we should only care about that. It's like, okay, well, we have this game, and it would be fun, except we can't do this because X.
Mm. Yeah, that's. I think that's 100% how we should do it. Yeah. If we run into a scenario where it's like we need this, then we need to add it.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking about that tick thing, because it's like, well, it'd be sick if I didn't need to do a set interval, and I could just use a function that does that on its own rotation.
Exactly. But even then, that's still a set interval.
Actually.
Even then, that's still a set interval. You could call your own.
Yeah, but it's not something I need to write.
Right, yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know.
The other thing, too, though, is that each of my NPC nodes have their own interval, so maybe we will want like a way to set a game node to tick on its own.
Why would you?
Because that's basically what I did. I don't know. I'll send you the code that makes that work. But
is that for each individual car to tick?
Yeah, because each car needs to move at its own pace.
Oh.
Here, sorry, folks listening at home.
Well, you could also.
I sent it to you.
Oh God, I'm just reading code live on the podcast. Okay. It's an interval. La, 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 la. Yeah, I guess. I mean, does each car need to move at a thing, or is it each row of cars?
Well, each row of cars, because right now I only have one car per row.
Okay, so I would say, like, yeah, the that kind of makes sense, I guess, because I was thinking you could have one interval where everything that updates on that interval will be updated in that one interval, as opposed to per node. So instead of a per node, it'd be a per row thing. So at max, you'd have 3 intervals or 4 intervals, however many rows of cards you have. It doesn't matter how many cars within each row you have, because they're all updated on the same interval.
Right, but I think at that point, what I would do is have the row be a game node, and then each car inside of it is a game node into that child. Yeah, and then so I would loop in the tick on the row game node.
Yeah,
I would just move each car around.
Yeah,
but I don't know. That's an idea that I had, and it would be easier. But like I said, like the set interval works. It's just in the constructor now, and there's like a lot of logic in that constructor. Like my constructor is 40 some odd lines of code. So
yeah, well, wouldn't you? Well, I guess it's like until a player joins. Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking of, because I've had this too, where like the player hasn't joined, but how does the game know that something has started yet? Like you have your first add player, handle new player or whatever. And then you can maybe call some sort of initialize function within there and then do that whole thing. And that's possible today. It's just that the game session isn't managing that. You have to manage that for yourself. So maybe something like that. But I also have some fairly large constructors just from like, okay, well, game instance, construct game and make it go right now. But
yeah, I mean, it's okay to have a big constructor right now, but I would like to see us start to pull that apart and build more functionality to like help people.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think like when is your game initialized, and what's the difference between an initialization and a constructor? You don't have to load any assets; you just have to reference them. Maybe an initialize could do the whole thing to like intentionally cache all of its stuff beforehand, so there's no loading or whatever later. But when is that called? Is that called on the first player connection? Is that called on the game session initialization? You know what I mean? Like, I guess I just don't know when.
Yeah, I think that the constructor should construct the base and anything that is static to the game, maybe, and then after the first player joins, that's when you add in your NPCs and stuff. But it's going to depend on the game. I think we just need to have a way of helping people know, like, yo, this is suggestions maybe.
Yeah.
So like for me, I should move some of this logic to only construct once the first player joins. Because right now I construct everything even if no players join.
Right.
The moment this game spins up, it's like, boom, there's things and they're already moving. So that when the first player joins, it's not like constructing it. Those things are already in motion, like going along. So
yeah,
and I don't know if that's right or wrong either.
I think it is. I think it should be up to the game. I think that's been the thing for me for a while, is that I want to continue to provide options. I don't want to limit stuff as much as possible. It's like, well, if you want to do this, and you want to do this, but I don't really know what anybody would want, and yeah, I guess I just don't know. So it's like trying to make everything for everybody, and we don't know what they would want yet. So
yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, we just gotta keep making stuff until we discover the like patterns that we have and how to abstract them and make them nicer.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that as well. Like, just we have to find out what our like most general cases are.
Yeah,
like what's shared across all of these, and then making functions to support that.
Yeah, I also
and then sorry,
you finish. I have a whole other.
Oh, and then like just document out what those solutions are, and then maybe add some suggestions. That's my thing. Is like I'd rather us be suggestatory than
dictatorish.
That's a word. Yeah, than dictatorish. Like I'd suggest you in handle new player, you add non-static element. You add your non-static elements, but on your first player. But
sure, we can have all that kind of stuff, and it's like, yeah, I think adding, because that's not quite documentation. It's some form of documentation, but it's not instructions on how to call a function. It's like the subnote. When you say how to call a function, the subnote is, but don't call this unless you're doing whatever. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But we need to know what that is all before we start writing stuff down.
I agree. Yeah, use cases, getting those down, stuff like that.
Because another thing I was thinking of, this is my other side thing, but I have this is related, I'll bring it back around. I have a fight stick. It's an 8-bit dough or whatever is the brand, and it's got a double USB thing connection, and you can plug it into whatever. And it's just a really nice, I'll show you on the thing, like arcade stick, and it's got this clicky stick and all these buttons, and it's like my favorite kind of controller. And I tried it out with the move test on current master because I've totally broken it in my current working version. And it just kind of worked, like plugging it into my Mac, and it just kind of worked. And it made me realize, like, well, this doesn't need to be multiplayer at all. So, or not in the same way that it is. If you go back to like our listener question that we had like a month ago or whatever about like bringing the living room back, it's like, well, I can have 3 controllers plugged into one device, and it's a more cohesive experience because there is no lag between devices. It is lag to this one device. You know, this whole like game stream. Like if you think about it, this is just a game streaming thing. It happens to natively support multiplayer pretty well because it was built around that. But it's, at its core, if you can handle multiple people, you can handle one just fine. And as long as you handle multiple players on one, what is now a player, you know what I mean? Which is kind of gets into a whole fuzzy weird thing of like, well, what does that even mean? Can one, I guess it'd have to be abstracted out to client instead of player, and then client can have multiple players, which I think would totally work. Anyway, I think after I'm done with this wave of restructuring stuff, and I'm trying to make games, I think I want to make like a local multiplayer game and see what that looks like. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh, not like local multiplayer, but like on one box multiplayer.
Right. Like I'll plug in 3
like
Xbox controllers to my PC, and I'll see how that works in home games with one client, multiple
That'd
players.
Be pretty sick because some of my favorite memories are when we were doing that.
Yeah, and it's like you're thinking about. I think I said in that episode where it's like my version of the living room might be everybody with a phone or whatever. But then, like, what about the people who have controllers today? And like, I have a TV today, and I don't want to play anything on my 5-inch phone. I want to play a something on my TV with everybody in one room. Well, like we can actually support that with just not many tweaks to our current structuring of a game session to player, and that's really it.
Yeah.
And again, I think it's supporting options. It's one client, one player. Each is an iPhone. One client, one client. Everybody's an iPhone or a laptop or whatever. Or one client has multiple players, and then you can kind of do fun things like that because it's like meta multiplayer. You can have my multiplayer group in one client like competing against another multiplayer group. So if you think about like someone in the desktop or someone on the desktop in the nerd room or whatever where the server's running, and then you have the people out there on the Xbox or whatever, or on not the Xbox but on the TV with the Xbox controller. Well, they're both just competing against each other. It's a 6-player multiplayer game with 2 clients, and it's 3-on-3.
Yeah.
It's like
that'd be super fun.
Yeah, we could support that like really nicely. I think at least. And so that's something I've just been thinking about over the past couple weeks of just trying to think about what games I want to make. I like idle games. I like kind of trivia, like fun, relax, whatever type stuff. Not super intense, especially when talking about home games because we can't support something super intense. So I'm kind of just trying to figure out what I'm going to build next. I thought it'd be fun to do, as a side note, I thought it'd be fun to do a idle game where everyone in the room, everyone in the game is essentially cooperating. And it's not really that much of an idle game. Kind of like how idle skilling has so much to do that you can go into like buffing up one tree, and by the time you're done with that, there's a whole other tree that you can like start to invest into. If you make all these things a slightly more active activity, thinking about like, we have 5 people in this game. How about the game is that we have to start a business selling some nonsense thing, and every individual within this has to create their nonsense thing for the business to sell. And we can define what all that is in the game. Like that's part of the game, and it'll be more fun for people, and everybody has like a job. And it's all kind of
like group house flipper.
Yes, yeah. Like something about like cooperation to bring up your numbers as a group, right? And like how everybody has their job in the group, and that's like the thing. And it could be like a different job for a different device type or something like that. And I think
that sounds super fun. I like that.
I think you could do it though. That's the crazy thing. Is that like we could do all this stuff? I need unlimited time and like a bunch of money.
Yeah, unlimited resources.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know.
That's a really good idea. I do like that. I think it's more fun to share your device when you're playing than to have everybody on their own individual device.
Yeah, and I think people could do crazy stuff either way. So yeah I just want to have both. Also, I have a whole bunch of home game stuff I haven't even talked about yet.
I know. That's all I had, man. If you want to get going.
All right.
Or do you want to take a short break, do song of the week, so you don't have to like just go from talking a lot to talking a lot.
That's a good idea.
We go back into it.
But then we'll need home game stuff part 2, which is a whole other song.
We can do home game stuff part 2. It's all good.
All right, you're gonna have to freestyle the home games part 2 song, and I'm gonna use that as the song. So
okay.
So just
all
be
right.
aware of that. But yeah, anyway, song of the week. Song of the week sound.
Song of the week sound. Sorry, one sec. I'm just adjusting my microphone a little bit. 1 sec. Okay. Sorry, I had another thing I wanted to add to my ending. So this week I really thought I had my song of the week picked out, and then on Wednesday I heard a song and I was like, oh, this is the one. So I'm gonna just do both of them, but I'm gonna really focus on one. So one is called Further Than the Planes Fly by Yves Caridas, Karydas.
Okay.
That was the song, like, until Wednesday. I was like, this is the one. I like this one a lot. But then I heard Groceries by Mallrat, and that was it. Groceries by Mallrat is the song of the week for me. It's too good.
I've never heard either of these songs, so describe them to me.
Go listen to Groceries by Mallrat, and it is fire. That song is so good.
Am I listening right now?
If you want to, yeah.
All right, I'll cut this.
It's about 3 minutes.
It's pretty good. It's pretty catchy. I don't know where I've heard that before, but they give me some. I've heard that in like a movie or something.
It might have been. I don't know. She's an Australian artist, is all I know.
Yeah. Hey, that was cool.
I only heard her on... Yeah. I learned about this person on Wednesday, and I was like, this is the one.
You learned about this person on what? Your mic cut out, by the way.
Wednesday. Oh, my God. Wow.
It's been cutting out kind of off and on over the past thing. I just didn't want to ruin the vibe that we had, but...
it's all good.
Yeah.
It's kind of defeating, but, we'll figure it out eventually.
Well, yeah. We just got to get a direct line. Like, I'll take this Ethernet cable running through this place and just get it directly to Tucson, right into your thing, so I could get a better connection.
Is that legal? Can you do that?
On some level, that's like how the internet works, right? It's just like a bunch of things.
Yeah. Don't you have to be a utility company or whatever to do
that?
Yeah.
I'll pull some strings.
Yeah, we'll pull some wires. You mean?
Oh my goodness.
Got him.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's my song of the week. It's super catchy. I like it. It's a bop.
Yeah, it is a bop. That's a bop for sure. Yeah. Also, I never said this on the thing, and we never said this on the thing, but I think we both know this. Listeners might not have been told. Anyway, the song of the week does not have to be a song that came out this week. It's any song that you were listening to this week. So
yeah. I mean, you could have been listening to it for a long time, but then something about this week brought it to the forefront or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. My song of the week. So I went on like a thing this past week where I was trying to get into pop punk. Like I just looked up pop punk on Spotify. Mm-hmm. And like my favorite part of what I perceive to be that entire genre, because again, what's a genre, is like very clear enunciation. Sounds kind of whiny over like a catchy guitar thing. Like, you know what I mean? Just like, think Bowling for Soup 1984 or 1985. that kind of a song. And I've heard a lot of these songs before, and I know a lot of these songs, but I kind of went into it and I listened to a bunch of Blink-182 and I listened to a bunch of other stuff. But my song of the week is The Rock Show by Blink-182, because I think that song is just really, really good and real catchy. It's like exactly the kind of thing I was looking for when trying to seek out whiny, enunciating guitar sound songs.
Blink-182.
The Rock Show.
What?
She's so cool. It's like perfect.
Oh, yeah. Okay, everyone knows that one.
It sounds like the year 2000, which I like.
It does.
Yeah.
That song, it is the year 2000.
Even though I think it came out like 2002 or whatever, like the self-titled Blink-182 album. Or is it self-titled? Let me see.
I have no idea.
Blink-182. The album is called... No. So there is a self-titled album called Blink-182. That was 2003. The one with The Rock Show is called Take Off Your Pants and Jacket, which is from the year 2000.
That's a very specific request for somebody.
Leave the shirt on. Take off your pants and jacket.
In general.
Yeah. I mean, I like that genre. I just never liked it because, like, as a kid specifically, I was into hip-hop, and the kids who weren't into hip-hop made fun of me for liking hip-hop, and they liked that white shit. So now I'm trying to get into that white shit, you know?
Well, because when we were growing up, there was still that, like, battle between, like, who's going to be the real music. Is it going to be rock or hip-hop? And hip-hop won.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's the genre. It's the number one, like, most popular thing now. But
hip-hop won.
Yeah, but it's, like, not even the same hip-hop of, like... It's just the genres... It's kind of what I mean. Genres don't matter. Like, modern hip-hop is not the same thing as hip-hop 10 years ago, and it's not the same thing as hip-hop 20 years ago, or whatever.
I mean, rock isn't even the same as it was 10 years ago.
Yeah, so it's like, what does the word even mean? What is rock music? What is rap music? Anyway.
I don't know. Genres are dumb. People should just listen to what they like to listen to.
Yeah.
I like listening to a lady talking about getting groceries, and you know what? That's fine.
It's about finding someone to get groceries with, though, right? If you want to get close to me, if you want to get groceries, you know.
Well, so I'm gonna be honest, like, and I didn't understand half of what she's saying because she goes pretty fast, and I was at work when I was listening to this, so I looked at the genius lyrics or whatever, their explanation for this song. I guess it's supposed to be that she likes somebody, but she doesn't want to like tell them that she likes them. So instead she's like, do you want to get groceries with me? Because the idea is like doing something mundane with someone special makes that a special thing. I don't know if that's true or not, if that was her intention, but I like it.
Very deep, very provocative.
Yeah, I like doing mundane things, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah, I don't know. That's song of the week, I guess. I'm happy that I broke my Don Toliver streak. It wasn't going to be the Don Toliver song of the week.
Too Little Shorter was a slapper.
It's
I
a
liked
slapper.
it.
I like the...
Yeah.
There's the part... I don't know what he says the follow-up to it, but there's a part where he just says, now my life is so exciting, and I like say that to myself.
I listened to it like I think 2 or 3 times this week, but I was like way off in the weeds because sometimes when I'm at work and I'm not in the zone mentally, I'll just go through Spotify and start clicking on an artist and being like, who's a related artist and going through their stuff. Yeah. So I was doing that at work, and that's how I found more Australian artists. All right. Are you ready to talk for like an hour about all the stuff you've done?
I don't even think it's going to be an hour. I think I am ready to keep talking about home game stuff, and I think this will probably be like a 2-hour podcast in the end.
Okay. So home games part 2.
This is your...
There you go.
Incredible. That was very I like how grand it feels. Yeah, you know, it feels like a ceremony. I like how it leads up to it. It's like and you think that like you know something else is coming. It's like the build up and it's like, okay, here it is.
Thank you. I should be I'm the next Tynan. I'm doing all the music for season 2 of Patch Notes. But before we get into your stuff, how do you feel about seasons to Patch Notes?
Wait, what? Your mic cut out.
Oh, God,
something to seasons to Patch Notes?
How do you feel about seasons in Patch Notes? Do like season 0, season 1?
You see, I feel like a season implies that it will end, and the only time you know what I mean? Like, okay, season 1 is followed by a break before season 2. I don't think we've talked about it, but are we going to do breaks ever? I thought we were just doing this until we died. So. Yeah.
I think as long as we want to keep doing this, we keep doing this. Unless something like
drastic changes,
horrible happen. Yeah, unless it's like you have to take time off. And I think if you have to take time off, you have to take time off. And if the other person wants to do it, it's kind of their responsibility to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like we said in the beginning, like we need consistency or whatever. So as long as we do it every Wednesday, like we have been up to this point. There was one week I uploaded an hour early, so it was Tuesday night technically, but we don't care about that. Like we just need to have something, and if we don't have something, then we need to have a reason for why, and the people who listen to this should know why, because like the whole thing of every Wednesday I know that there's going to be a new episode of Patch Notes is kind of like that kind of keeps me going, you know. It's the whole reason I do. Anyway, like I just like doing that stuff. But if we ever hit a point where we're like, okay, well, you know, maybe this season 1 is like 50 episodes, and it's like, okay, well, you know, we have this thing working and we have all this stuff, whatever, and now we're kind of focusing on marketing it and that kind of a thing. It's like something I think I might have mentioned earlier, but like I got this whole setup so we can record videos now, and like, you know, like home games video content, whatever that means. And so like if that becomes the focus while something else is happening with the software side, then it's like, well, maybe we do like a video series for that week or something different for that week, but we have content. Otherwise it's like, you know, Yazeed get hit by a car and Joseph is chilling out with him in the hospital, so there's no episode this week. People understand that. Or it'd be even more baller.
We'll record from there.
Exactly. I was going to say it'd be even more baller to do an episode from the hospital.
From the hospital. All right, Yazeed. Can't feel anything. Morphine.
All right, we have Drooling Yazeed, our recurring character now for the patch notes.
Well, hopefully not his recurring character. Jesus. Yeah, I agree. Also, for me, it's like the routine of doing it every week makes it easier to do it every week.
Yeah, it's like working out or whatever. Like the second you stop,
Yeah.
you stop forever.
Yeah. We have talked about this where it's like I've been super into activity X, and then I'll get sick or I'll go on vacation or something like that, and I'll come back and it's like I don't want to do activity X anymore.
Yeah.
And then I have to move on to a new activity completely,
Yeah.
so I can get into it and like schedule out when to do it and stuff.
Yeah, I mean we're on a good run. This is week 13. Like that's over 3 months of us doing this every week, which I think is pretty cool. I mean, I've been on every episode.
Yeah,
you haven't been on every.
There it is. One day you're not going to be on an episode, and I'll have to record one solo dolo, and then we'll see how absolutely off the rails it goes.
Yeah, I also need to give you access to the podcast because the way it currently is that if for some reason I am not able to upload a podcast, no one else can. So I think I have to add you as like a contributor or whatever. Okay. Anyway, is that all for the non-home games code home game stuff?
Yeah, that's all I had for you. That literally just popped into my head. But go ahead. Maybe.
Okay, I'm gonna go through my little list here real quick before I start talking. Okay, so yeah, generally speaking, I've restructured things, kind of in a what I feel is a beneficial way. Probably should have talked to you before I did this, but I think it's correct. So. Like I think we talked about last week, but the squisher became too complicated because the squisher had multiple roles. One of it was to do the squishing. It had a squish method within the class. And then the other was to kind of maintain some sort of state outside of that. And then it also, at some point, was like mapping input. It was mapping player input to the game and sending it into there and all that kind of stuff. Which, like I said, felt wrong. So... I had to extract kind of the core of what the squisher needed to do versus the like static function of squishing and unsquishing things. Like that should not require an instance of anything. It is a pure take numbers and convert them to a game node and game node and convert them to numbers. So I ripped that out into its own NPM module. I actually published to NPM. It's up on NPM right now. It's called Squish.js because Squish was taken and the names are unique. So Squish.js is a simple thing that contains like the game stuff that we've been using and everything. What was part of common in home games. So like game node and colors. I don't really know if colors should be in Squish, but it's in there right now. And colors, game node, and then a squish and unsquish function. And those are pure. They're just, like I said, static functions. They don't exist within some sort of class or object or whatever. They're just functions. And I actually have a very basic test, which you might be happy to hear about, Yazeed.
Yeah.
It's like two functions. It's like test simple game node, test complex game node, and all that kind of thing. And basically just does the basic game node colors.red, squish, and then unsquish. Do I have a game node with colors.red? That basic type of stuff. And it does. Mm-hmm. So that totally works. It's essentially like a JSON serialize, deserialize, or like JSON stringify, JSON parse type thing. And that was actually, to kind of go off on a little bit of a tangent, that was actually originally how home games worked, is that we didn't have anything squisher like this. When I talk about when I rewrote the squisher last Christmas, that was when I changed it from basically doing a JSON stringify over the socket, because you can't send like a JSON object, that kind of thing. You had to send a string to be parsed by the client, and that whole thing. So I was doing that in the beginning, and it just wasn't fast enough. So I did the current squish stuff, but I didn't really know why it was not fast enough or what the bottleneck was. I just kind of in a moment of inspiration decided to completely rewrite all that stuff. And it ended up working out for the best, but I don't really understand why it's better than JSON, why I'm not doing JSON. And so I've started to dig into a version, or not a version, just basically a way to test that and compare JSON versus squishing. So I did something basic like comparing the performance time for like, here is game node, it is an object. JSON.stringify game node, JSON.parse the stringified version, and then compare all the properties of the two, the original serialized, and then the deserialized version of it that I got at the end. And doing a comparison of the time it takes to actually JSON.stringify and JSON.parse, and then the amount of bytes that are contained within the serialized version of it, because that is going to be the thing going over the socket very, very quickly. We need to have like a very efficient network performance thing is what I'm getting at, because it's streaming, like that whole thing. So I wanted to compare. And so in my like basic test, the JSON stringify and JSON parse were like sub 1 millisecond on a very simple game node. Occasionally they would hit 1 millisecond or above, but like the JS like date.now only gives you millisecond granularity, so you can't see the decimal whatever above that, but it's about a millisecond or less for stringifying and parsing a very basic game object, right? A game node. But the actual number of bytes that it was stringified to was 220. So that's a 220 character thing being sent over the socket, however X many times per second for ever X many clients. Pretty large and whatever. The squished version was only 60 bytes. So the squished was about a quarter of the space that the JSON stringified thing was, and it's because you don't have all of the you basically just have the values like converted into a way between 0 and 255. So you don't have any of the keys in the JSON object. Both the client and the server know about the keys and all the different types within them or whatever, and they can figure out what key you're referencing from the game frame itself because it has this type encoded in it. So instead of having the actual full thing. Anyway, it's just a way to efficiently transfer game nodes over the socket, over a network, by squishing them, by making them smaller. And the squish and unsquish were also about a millisecond each. So maybe slightly slower than JSON parse and JSON stringify, especially because that stuff is probably crazy optimized in Node and whatever, and in the client and the browser or whatever. I don't actually know. But it's roughly the similar time to serialize and deserialize essentially, but much smaller network payload. Anyway,
right.
That's what Squish does.
Well, when you were testing it, were you testing just the time for it to stringify and then parse, or were you also including the network transfer time in there?
It wasn't network transfer time because just objectively, it's just true that a smaller payload will go over faster.
Be faster.
So I was just looking at the actual processing time of parsing and unparsing or whatever. Call it serialize and deserialize of both squishing and unsquishing versus parsing and stringifying and whatever. So of both of those things, and like I said, if I have computer A talking to computer B over this network, and computer A and computer B are very fast at doing the processing of the data, and it's about a millisecond each, well, then I have to worry about how much time it takes for a message to get from A to B. And if that message is smaller, it'll be faster. And so that was kind of the base thing I was operating on, and yeah, it seems to work. Again, like I haven't done a whole lot of thorough testing yet, but squish and unsquish is fast, and they are able to make something smaller than we would if we just use JSON stringify, which I think is pretty cool.
Okay, that makes sense.
Like at some level, I like beat JSON. It's like kind of a cool feeling. But yeah. Anyway, that was just like the one thing. So now that squish has been abstracted to that, the squisher in home games is still there. It just calls these kind of utility functions in this other library, and it itself just maintains squish state, and it has a listener, and it doesn't have to know about players, it doesn't have to know about any of that stuff. It just, the game session, when it's created, will instantiate a squisher, and that squisher gets the game instance that the game session gets. That squisher squishes, and the game session listens to it. That's it. The game session then broadcasts out and stuff like that. The game session also now manages player input and all that kind of stuff, which I think is the wrong way to do it. It's just, it was in the squisher, so now it's in the game session. And I think I'll probably have to abstract that into some sort of generic input mapper, because input will be different for each type of client too. So I think that might be nice to have something that'll take iOS, Android, and web input and convert them to a game input, output, whatever, right? Anyway, that's kind of like that core little change there for the Squisher and game session stuff. And then just generally rewriting some things. I added, like I said last week, I added a base class for games, so everything will extend that. So things like add player, dot players, and all that kind of stuff are managed by the game session. So the game session will like, get all of its input stuff, but then just call game.add player, game.whatever. It's calling like the base interface stuff of the game. It doesn't know anything about specifics of games. And then stuff like collisions and all that, I need to move what was in the Squisher out to its own util function. So you can do something like check if something will collide, what to do if something does collide, blah, blah, blah. All that stuff.
Like a collision lib?
Yeah.
Yeah. Or lib.
I don't know.
I pronounce it lib.
I say lib.
But anyway. You say what?
I say lib.
I bet you
The damn libs.
Yeah. That's cool, man. I like a lot of those changes. And I'm super stoked to see them and get to belly with them.
Yeah, this kind of goes into this last thing. Like you said last week, the PRs should have milestones and whatever. But I think at this point, like that giant dashboard PR is already outdated because I'm restructuring all this other stuff and it still has the dashboard. And it has a bunch of changes in the web client. And that's the other thing. I moved out the web stuff to its own repo. So Home Games Web now has its app server and app and all that kind of stuff by itself. So Home Games just has the game server and games and the Squisher. Anyway, so that PR has all these changes across every repo or what is now its own repo, but across every kind of compartment of Home Games. It's got Squisher changes, it's got web changes, it's got all that kind of stuff. So the new-ish PR, or the new PR I guess I will work on, will have a lot of stuff removed. So it'll have a lot of, like, all the web will be out of there. All of the Squish stuff will be completely rewritten and all that kind of stuff. It'll be very different. So I'll probably have a version of that like in a week, at least the new updated PR up, and we can talk about that stuff next week.
Cool, man. Very nice.
But yeah,
I mean, with the milestone one, basically I was just saying, like, it becomes easier to track changes in files if I can see, like, this is where he was starting with and this is like where he was going to.
Yeah.
Because looking at 60 files changed is like, that's all.
Well, I've started doing like whip commits. So instead of just committing something that I commit when it like barely works or whatever, I'll commit with like a feature or a fix, a specific thing. So at least that'll be more readable. But what I'm saying is this PR I will send you will not be easy to read. It'll be a lot of changes, but a lot of them will be removals. And so it'll be like 1,500 new lines, but it'll be like 1,300 lines removed.
This is a lot of like moving and stuff.
Yeah.
Relocation of code.
Getting my GitHub contribution numbers up. Those lines change going nuts.
That's right. Number of lines of JavaScript written in January for Joseph is going to be in like the thousands.
I think it already is in the thousands.
Hey,
but
probably is.
But yeah, I just kind of wanted to go over that stuff and the general changes.
Yeah, man, that's super, super cool. For people who don't know, I just occasionally get text messages from Joseph saying like, yo, man, look, I did this thing. And I'm always like, I'm not at my computer, but I want to mess with it. Yeah, I love getting the like text updates from you, by the way.
Yeah.
It's like little push notifications on Home Games.
Yeah, I'm happy with the Squisher stuff. I think it's like really awesome having a thing where I can say, hey, here's all these kind of complex attributes for this thing, squish, and the squish is just a bunch of numbers. And like and it's like rawest level, all of that stuff is all just a bunch of numbers. But seeing it at that level, it's like, yeah, man, this is computer stuff. Like this is programmer stuff.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll see how it actually goes in the long run, because I don't know if this like, I don't know if you have some crazy bottleneck when you're squishing or unsquishing something when it's huge or what. I don't know, but
I don't know. I mean, I think that changing it into an unsigned integer array is always going to be more efficient than changing it into a string.
Yeah, but then it's like I also think that, but I don't know, you know.
Yeah.
Because what about when you have a lot of string properties in that thing? Does it like change the way? I don't know, dude. I don't know anything. But
well, once you put out a PR for it, we could write a proof. What you're saying?
No, absolutely not. Oh, that's another thing. For Home Games Web and for Squish.js, I haven't been writing PRs. I've just been pushing straight to master. So I'll probably still do a cleanup of that stuff later. But what was I talking about? Squish. Anyway, Squisher,
yeah.
and
the efficiency of squishing, and you were just pushing directly into master.
Yeah. It might be efficient, maybe not. I don't know. I'm pushing straight to master for Home Games Web and Squish.js. At this point, Home Games has 5 repos under the organization, which I think is pretty cool. Feels real. And yeah, stuff is kind of just going in that way. And then after I've done all this stuff, I just want to work on games.
Yeah.
I just want to make games.
Absolutely, man. Especially the like, I don't want to say like this new idea on games, but like the new idea we have for games, like shared console, multiple inputs on one player's screen, basically.
Yeah, because I think if you have the means to have a pure local experience like that, like if you have a bunch of controllers that you can put into one device, that will give you a better experience because the squisher, or not squish, well, yeah, the squisher is still squishing out the same amount of stuff, but the game session is only sending out one version of it. You kind of keep everybody on track, and you don't have any things like sync issues between devices and whatever. So ideally we should limit those sync issues as much as possible, but if you can eliminate them completely by just doing something else, then we should allow that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, cool, man. Did you have anything else for Home Games?
No. Well, let me check real quick.
Yeah.
Pulled out Squish logic to Squish.js. That is done. Player input stuff now in game session. Bullet point feels wrong. Yep, we talked about that. Rewriting stuff. That's true. Blah, blah, blah. PR will be big. That's true. And then want to make games. That's true. So we've covered all this. I'm done with home game stuff.
Awesome. I don't have anything for Home Games Part 2, and this is the first episode with the Home Games Part 2.
Yeah. But you did the song, and I think that's what really matters.
Thank you. We'll have to use it again in the future then, so you can cut just that specific part and just move it to different songs.
I'll use that for every song. Intro song, outro song,
intros. Please. All right, so what's happened in Part 2?
What's up, Part 2? This song is going.
There we go.
You go ahead. What's up, Part 2, Yazeed?
Yeah, man, I don't know. Like we talked about kind of before this podcast started, work has just been like my stable platform right now, and everything else has just been all over the place. So I personally am all over the place. But I did start lifting weights, which has been an experience.
Very nice. You doing dumbbells? You doing barbells? You do what are you?
Oh,
what are you doing?
Both, and kettlebell.
Ooh, is that the big ball one?
Yeah, it is the big ball one with like the handle on it. It's like very famous because CrossFitters use it, but there's one exercise that you may listen to the Giant Bomb podcast. The Giant Bomb podcast. I listened to the Joe Rogan Experience, and one of the guests that he had on somewhat recently, or I watched somewhat recently, was talking about kettlebell exercises, and the one he mentioned was a Turkish get-up, and it's basically just getting off the floor, holding a heavy weight, and that sounds very useful.
Yeah, that's practical strength, you know. Say you're being crushed by like a bear or something, you know, you got to get up. That's a lot of weight.
Listen, if you're getting hit by a bear, it's over. I don't think there's coming back from that. But yeah, like it's for people who don't know, lifting weights is very boring. If you've never lifted weights before, don't. I recommend literally anything else. It's way more fun. I don't know. I think for me, because I started with hiking and rock climbing, those are two activities where I think you don't want to be not in the zone for.
Those ones require your attention because your safety depends on it. But like running or lifting weights, not really. Like unless you're, you know, you need like a spotter or whatever. But other than that, like you're mostly fine.
Mm-hmm. So I think that's like kind of where it started for me, because I started with those two. I just got used to exercising, just like being in my own head for it, and now I don't want to not be in my own head for it.
I get it, kind of.
Yeah.
Going to see Bad Boys 3 tonight, by the way.
Oh,
that's very exciting to me. It's been 17 years. Yeah, he is. Him and Martin Lawrence are in the third one. It's been 17 years since Bad Boys 2. That's shocking to me.
That's a long time.
Yeah. I watched Bad Boys 2 when it came out with my mom in the theater, and it was an incredible movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. I had not so high hopes for Bad Boys 3, but Zenobia's brother is very into movies, and he saw Bad Boys 3 and says it's his favorite in the series so far.
His favorite in the series?
He said it's the best of the trilogy, but I don't know if it's just 3 movies. They're doing a 4th one. I don't know. But basically, out of 1, 2, and 3, he said it is the best.
I mean, where do they go from here? Didn't Martin Lawrence marry Will Smith's sister or whatever?
Did Martin Lawrence what? Your thing cut out. Let's get
Martin Lawrence's character marry Will Smith's sister. This is a character.
I don't remember. I thought they were already a couple. Apparently, she's not in it. This one, Gabrielle Union.
Oh, what the heck?
Or no, that's yeah. Gabrielle Union. She is not in this movie for whatever reason, but we'll see. Again, that's why I'm like unsure of it. I haven't heard anything either way except for Zenobia's brother telling me about it. So we'll see. We're going at like 7:30, and we're gonna go see it in IMAX too, which will be cool.
Ooh.
But to get hyped, we're probably gonna watch Bad Boys 2 sometime before then.
Nice.
So probably after this.
Very nice. I'm gonna go see an anime movie, actually.
Which anime movie?
I don't remember the name. It's either Withering with You or Weathering with You. It's supposed to be a sad movie.
Great. Well, we'll probably have a lot of anime talk next week then, with me playing Dragon Ball Z and then you doing that. And then I'll probably watch some anime because I'm trying to get prepped. You know, it's going to be an anime podcast now.
Yeah. No, let's not do an anime podcast. I don't want to do an anime podcast.
We'll get a certain crowd. Oh. You know, we'll find our audience.
Yeah, well, as stink goes. I was going to say something. Have you seen the new Godzilla movies, like the 2014 one and the new one?
I saw the one that had Bryan Cranston in it, but then I didn't see any of the new ones.
Okay.
I think that was like Godzilla 2014 was the Bryan Cranston one.
Yeah, that was the 2014 one. So there was like a sequel to that one that came out last year, the year before.
But the King of Monsters one?
King of the Monsters, yeah. I didn't see it in theaters, and I saw it like a while ago, but for some reason YouTube's been recommending a ton of things about that movie for me, and so I've just been watching them because I think I'm an idiot and I just watch what YouTube recommends to me. They're like, oh, I watched this movie.
I do the same thing. It's like I started watching How to Drink. It's a cocktail channel. He makes a lot of videos on alcohol and cocktails, and they're pretty well made, so they're pretty interesting. So it's like, oh yeah, I'll watch this 25-minute video on gin. I hate gin, but this is awesome.
I don't know what it is. For some reason, I feel like if it's on the internet and recommended to me, I have to watch it. So I just watch it. Yeah.
The recommended stuff on YouTube is pretty good.
Yeah. Sometimes.
I don't know. Most of the time, I think it's pretty great. Zenobia watches a bunch of like makeup videos and Jackie Aina and Sophia Nygaard and all this like beauty vlogger type stuff. And so she messes up my recommendations. So I have to like watch videos about guns and punching guys so I can try to balance it out.
And Cybertrucks.
Yeah, exactly.
And rap music videos.
Yeah.
Or hip hop music videos, really. Do you guys share a YouTube account?
No, I just leave it signed in the living room, and she just watches stuff there, and it's too much trouble for me to switch accounts on the Xbox app because I have to log into my phone, and it takes like 30 seconds, and I'm not about that because we switch off of who's watching what all the time. So she just watches stuff on my account.
Oh, okay, cool. I would not want anyone to have to go through my YouTube account. There's so much stupid stuff in there.
Oh, yeah, well, Zenobia knows I'm stupid. So
that's true. You two have been together long enough that if she didn't, I'd be worried for her.
Yeah. She knows I'm an idiot.
Yeah, man. I don't know what's going on. What's happening, man?
Let me see. Like I said earlier, it snowed. That was pretty cool. Been enjoying cold weather. Watched that movie yesterday. A lot of what I did this week was watching movies. You know the movie Yesterday?
No, I thought you were saying you watched that movie yesterday, and I was like, which movie?
Yeah.
So yeah, like, what are you talking about?
No, it's called Yesterday. It's like it's this dude in London or somewhere. Pretty sure it's London. Who cares? And it's the whole thing of like the Beatles never existed, or no one remembers the Beatles. So he just basically performs all these Beatles songs and gets famous from it. That's the movie.
Do you know I don't like the Beatles at all?
I believe that, but I like the Beatles.
I know.
But I can see why you don't. Tell me why you don't.
I don't vibe with it.
What's like the can you point to a song that is famous and be like, that song I don't like because
Yellow Submarine.
Okay.
I think it's just stupid. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think it's dumb. I don't understand what that song is about, or like I don't like the beat or rhythm to it or the words to that song. I don't like anything about that song.
What about like Come Together? That one is like pretty gettable.
I don't remember Come Together. I don't remember very many Beatles songs off the top of my head.
Okay. Maybe okay. Look up this one song. I have homework for you, Yazeed.
Okay.
Look up Maxwell's Silver Hammer by the Beatles. It's like a funny song, and it's very easy to follow. And I think, especially for like the time, it's pretty different.
Okay.
Anyway,
I will try it out, and next podcast, so next week, I will have a review of Maxwell's Silver Hammer.
if I had to pick a song that I think you would like, I would say it's that one.
Okay. Well, people always say stuff to like. I think I had this conversation with another person, and they said like the Beatles have so many different genres, quotation marks, that they cover, that there's always going to be a song that you like by the Beatles. I just haven't found that song at all.
Yeah, or like Helter Skelter or whatever is a pretty crazy, like high energy song. Their stuff is all over the place. So I'm not even really much of a Beatles fan. I just like the Beatles rock band, and I listen to a bunch of Beatles songs after that. But I don't know. It's cool. I like the Beatles. As someone who's like a moderate fan of the Beatles, that movie was just okay. It was like, okay, you know, it is about this guy who somehow remembers every Beatles song pretty much from memory. And then no one remembers the Beatles, but they did exist, I guess. And it was just like a different timeline. Anyway, it's just like a weird thing. They don't explain the story very well. Then it turns into a love story and it sucks. So 3 out of 5.
Let me think. Of the movies you've recommended on this podcast, I don't think you've liked any of them.
What was the second part out of the movies I've recommended on this podcast? Your mic cut.
You haven't liked any of them.
Well, because I'm a negative person. I like a lot of movies. We watched John Wick 3 again last night. That movie's still incredible. We watched Wolf of Wall Street the night before that. Incredible still, you know? It's just I don't talk about things I like. It's just what makes me mad.
I watched Black Hawk Down recently.
Yeah.
And that movie's a lot more chaotic, and the part that really got me was when they, in the title card, they were like 1992, and I was just like, I wasn't even a human being back then.
Yeah.
But also the part that got me was there's a scene where one of the characters is like, I have this magical skill, and that's why I'm like a ranger, but I'm behind a desk. And he was like, oh, you can type? And he was like, yeah, can you type? And the dude was like, no. And the thought of like 28 years ago somebody couldn't type blows my mind.
It's like a thing. Well, we took typing classes in middle school.
Typing classes.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't know how to type. We just knew how to use a keyboard, kind of.
Forget middle school. Do you remember in elementary school when they used to take you to the computer lab?
Very vaguely. Like Mavis Beacon teaches typing type stuff.
Yes. And then in middle school, Mrs. Pride.
Yeah. And like Typing of the Dead. That game still exists. It's House of the Dead, but you type.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like a roguelite where you type. Or something like that. Or a strategy game where you type. I don't know if it's supposed to help you type, but I think I'd have anxiety about doing another typing class.
Yeah, it's hard. Like I type quickly, I think, but I don't know. I think if I actually did one of those like words per minute counter tests, I would do poorly.
Well, that's the thing is like when you're writing code a lot, you don't write words.
Yeah, you write nonsense.
And you're like making stuff up half the time. You're like for parenthesis blah blah blah. How many times in typing are you gonna do an open parenthesis, a plus sign, 2 semicolons, and a closing parenthesis in one line, like, and then an open curly bracket? Like almost never.
Yeah, well, I guess it's like, yeah, I guess it's not really the same thing because we don't type words. That's not like the thing that we do with our job. But we do sometimes when you're writing documentation or whatever. It's embarrassing to be like, yeah, I've been using a computer for over 20 years. Where's the H key? You know, type.
Well, do you hunt and click, or are you on your home row and you type from your home row?
Do I what?
Do you type from your home row? Like you leave your hands from like A through semicolon, and then you type from there?
On the yeah, like I think on my little keyboard I do, because like my hands just naturally rest there. But on the large keyboard, I don't. Like on my desktop right now, I don't really use the keyboard for much. So I only use it like when I'm about to type something in. So I'll pull it towards me and then look right at it and then type what I need to type. But when I'm typing on my laptop, like I type like I'm 90 years old when I type on my desktop. But on my laptop, it's like, okay, well, you know, or my laptop or anything I use where it's plugged into my keyboard, my Japanese keyboard, it's like I use my hands just stayed in the center there. But that's the whole thing of why I use Vim, is so I don't have to take my hand off the keyboard when I'm using my little keyboard. So I try to keep my hands there as long as possible.
Yeah. Okay. I also use the home keys, but that's true about both of the keyboards I have.
Yeah.
Because I work on 2 Windows boxes, my home one and my work one.
So. This guy works on Windows.
Hey, man. All I'm saying is that you technically work on Windows all the time because they own GitHub.
I work on Windows. What? Your mic has been cutting out crazy over the past 10 minutes, by the way.
All right, let's switch servers again.
It's probably still going to be terrible, but
yeah, I don't know what's going on with it. I was saying that technically everyone works on Windows who uses GitHub since they own GitHub.
That's not Windows though. It's probably running on some Linux thing. They just are unfortunately touching a Microsoft-owned thing when they do it.
Hey, GitHub's been adding some cool features.
It's true. Microsoft is totally fine as a company. I just hate Windows.
Yeah.
Like, I think Windows is the worst thing I have to use in my modern life. Besides Jira. That's separate.
That's no way that's true. There's no way that's true.
Yeah, like in terms of a tool or like a system or a processor or whatever, something I have to use. The only 2 things I have to use are Jira and Windows. Jira I use at work, and I hate Jira more than I hate Windows. That's true.
Wow.
But I really hate Windows is what I'm trying to get across here. I think Jira is trash.
You know what my example is going to be? It was Jira. I was going to say, everyone uses it, no one likes it.
It's so bad. It is so bad. I hate Jira.
I'm amazed that a company out there just hasn't made a better Jira.
Yeah, well, I don't know. There's like more simple things, but people don't need simplicity. They need some people need crazy project management stuff. That's why Jira exists. It's just that Jira for most people is overkill.
Yeah, kind of.
Just write a post-it note and put it on the wall. When do you think it'll be done? I don't know. Next week. Done. That's all your project management stuff.
I like the old. Have you ever been to a restaurant where they have that big spike in the center and they take receipts and they pop through it when they're done with them?
Not like as an event or a ceremony, but I have seen that before with the spiky thing.
Okay. Yeah. That I would like that. I would like the equivalent of that when I'm doing code projects.
But then what about when someone reopens the ticket? You can't really unhole the ticket, you know?
You know, that's a really good point. Just don't reopen a ticket. Make a new one. Make a bug ticket and say your previous ticket was shit and needs to move. No, I don't have anything else for What's Up Part 2, though. I don't know if you do.
I don't have anything else at all. I think I went through all my notes. My last thing on here is Song of the Week, but we already talked about that.
We did.
So, yeah, I'm out of things to talk about.
All right, I have a couple things in this ending before we close this one out.
Right.
So on Reddit this week, I think it was an Ask Reddit thread, but it was, what is an annoying thing your significant other does? But what it ended out being was like people grudgingly saying stuff that they like when their significant other does. So one of them was that every time they yawn, their girlfriend puts their finger in their mouth. So basically, like, if you're yawning and your mouth is open, they just jam their finger in your mouth every time they catch you. Or I think my favorite one was when they would go to kiss, they would just blow as much air as they could into your mouth when you were touched. So my question to you is, what is the equivalent of that for you?
Synovia makes me tuck her in at night.
Like, really?
Yeah, like when I'm going to or when she's going to bed and I'm staying awake, she'll like yell at me from that room that she needs to be tucked. Or she'll like, when she's going to bed, she's like, I'll just go ahead and go to bed untucked like always or whatever, and basically do that whole thing. And then I actually go and tuck her into bed, like put the whole blanket around like the whole thing, and then she'll just lay there like a burrito. We'll both laugh about it because she can't move, and it happens like multiple times a week. It's pretty funny.
Nice. Does she do the same thing for you?
No, I don't like being tucked in. It's weird.
I also don't like being tucked in.
Yeah, but it's.
What do you think her equivalent of that for you would be?
I don't know. I just do regular annoying things, like nothing cute annoying, just annoying. Yeah, I really don't know.
Just knowing me as a person, the answer from that thread that I kind of resonated with was making dinosaur noises, or just animal noises in general, just randomly throughout the day. Because I do that now alone in my house, so, you know.
Just roar to yourself?
Yeah. Like, there's something pleasing about making bird noises.
That's super weird. But you do you, Yazeed.
I didn't mean sexually.
I didn't mean
just
sexually
meant, like,
what the fuck?
I just meant, you know, this is fun to replicate bird noises, you know.
Good to know.
Yeah, other than that, I started watching The Good Place. That show is very funny, like super funny.
I'm so scared why you had to clarify not sexually.
Hey man, everyone's got a kink. Mine is not making bird noises, all I'm saying. All right.
The Good Place, though. Where are you in that show?
I just got to the part where Eleanor and Chidi got into their fight about Chidi having to teach Eleanor all the time. He was like, it's a 24-hour job with a sinkhole episode. I don't know. It's like super early on. I'm only like episode 6 or something.
Okay. I'm glad you like that show. I'm excited to see what you think of the season 1 finale.
Okay. Right. I'm interested to see how this goes. Yeah. Jonyu speaking threw me for a loop, actually.
The silent monk guy?
Yeah. Well, because, like, I knew he would speak, but I didn't know that they were going to set him up as, like, a monk first, and then he becomes, like, he's just a doof the whole time. I thought, like, he started off as a doof, became a monk somewhere in the middle, and then ended up being a doof again. Yeah. So, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
because I've seen, like, episodes strewn throughout.
Yeah.
Also, Tahani's character is I think, the most sad character in the show so far.
Because the whole I guess I don't remember what you know yet about each character in season 1, so I don't know.
So the part that was just revealed is like her parents liked her sister more than her, and like the one that really got me actually was when they're like with the lawyer, and the lawyer's going over like how the parents' assets are being divvied up, and it's like all this stuff gets left to her sister, and they spell Tahani's name wrong as Tahini, and I was like, oh, I can't imagine that kind of pain.
Yeah, each character in that show is like really good. I like everybody in that show. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the show's about to end like next week, and we're all caught up. So,
oh my gosh, I have so much to catch up in a week.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to watch this finale when it happens, then yeah. Otherwise, just avoid spoilers.
Yeah, I'll just avoid spoilers probably.
But yeah, you're like very far away from the current problems. Like, I don't know, whatever. I'm curious to see what you think of the show as it goes on.
Oh yeah, I think my favorite character so far is Janet.
Oh yeah, she's incredible. She's hilarious.
She is very funny, but like in the way that like I think is very funny.
Yeah, she's great. Especially like later on, there's a few episodes where Janet like is like the star of the episode too. Like there's parts like some of my favorite parts of that show are from Janet.
Yeah, she is very funny. I like the character a lot. Also, what's up with frozen yogurt?
Like, oh, in the show?
Yeah.
You should keep watching it.
Okay.
That comes up.
But that does get explained, because his explanation in season where, as far as I am, was Eleanor asks him why the obsession with frozen yogurt, and he just goes, I think it's fascinating that humans take something that's good and then ruin it a little bit so that they can have a lot more of it. And I don't know what that means.
Yeah, you should keep watching the show.
Okay. Yeah. The last thing I had on here is mostly for me, but Nat Geo had just put out an article somewhat recently about the dangers of day hiking and how common it is for people who go day hiking to get lost and or die or need search and rescue to get them. So if anyone out there is a hiker and you do day trips alone, be careful and let somebody know where you're going.
Yeah, it's like the biggest thing. Because I know that you hike by yourself, so it's like you should tell people that you're going on a hike, and then generally when you should be back.
Yeah, I do that actually. I do that. I mean, but I also don't go off the trail like purposefully, and I have not gotten lost on a trail yet.
Yeah, but it just takes once, and you get eaten by a mountain lion. That is true. Or whatever it is.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that I don't run into a mountain lion.
You just do what I do and never leave the house. There's very low risk of a mountain lion coming in here right now.
That's what you think, all right? And then I just have a question for you. You know those old, I don't know if you had this in like middle school or whatever, but we did like a unit on correlation is not causation. Or maybe this was in high school. And the one that I remember was like, if you like Sprite and something else, you're more likely to be a Democrat than a Republican. What is your, if you like blank, then you're more likely to do blank?
Okay. These are tough because it's like on the spot. Yeah. I don't have an answer yet. Let me think about this and I'll come back to you next week.
Okay. Do you have a Jeff Foxworthy style joke of you might be a software developer if?
No, I don't even have that because like there's a lot of differences between people who are software developers. The only like real consistency I can see is that a lot of them don't like sports.
Which makes me an anomaly.
Yeah, that's true. Or like I like combat sports. Like everybody likes UFC, everybody likes boxing. But it's like, oh, am I gonna go watch soccer? Not at all. Absolutely not. But you will.
It's the beautiful game.
Okay, but like calling it something doesn't make it good. You know, soccer sucks. No, yeah, I don't know. If you like sports, you're not a software developer. Unless you are.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Speaking of, just real quick, I believe last night Conor McGregor beat Cowboy in 40 seconds.
Oh, really? I'm glad I didn't get that pay-per-view then. I was considering it, but I didn't.
Yeah. You can watch that whole fight in 40 seconds.
That's awesome. Well, not really.
Cowboy gets his nose broken in the clinch from McGregor literally just hitting his shoulder into Cowboy's face.
Did you ever watch the Mayweather-McGregor fight?
No, I watched 2 rounds of it, but I was like, I know where this is going from those 2 rounds.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I don't watch a lot of that stuff. I was just surprised that he even made it that far in the fight.
I think that Mayweather isn't an aggressive fighter, so he's not going to put himself at risk just for the knockout.
Yeah, he like basically waited and watched for 7 rounds and then...
Yeah. But he won each round. So basically like he was tagging McGregor, but not enough to like drop him. He's not the like one punch guy. Yeah. Like Mike Tyson would have tried to kill in his prime. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Yeah. There's a lot of different stuff going on.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't like I said, I don't watch a lot of fighting sports. I just like them. Like when I have a friend that'll get the pay-per-view fight or whatever and invite me over, I'll watch. But I won't typically do that myself. I think I've only done that once. But I would like to get more into specifically boxing. UFC is cool, but I don't like the kicking so much. I want to learn boxing. Oh, I think that's what it was. Like we were talking about earlier, going to a boxing gym. There's a boxing gym right here, and I want to learn how to box. I don't want to learn how to kickbox. Because I want like practical fighting stuff. I know that kickboxing is relatively, but I'm not gonna like throw kicks at a man's head. You know what I mean? To like protect myself. I'm trying to just, you know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah. I want to learn boxing.
Boxing is an interesting sport. I think I don't know that much about boxing when it comes down to it.
I used to do karate, so I'm the fight expert of the group. Hey. I don't know anything about karate or fighting or anything.
My grandfather actually used to do boxing.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was apparently very good at it, and he got into a fight with a white person on a train, which is a no-no in apartheid South Africa.
Oh, wow.
That's the only part of that story that I know. I have no idea why. I know he won the fight, and I don't know what happened afterwards, but I know he didn't get arrested, so
nice.
There is that.
All right. Are we going to call it? We're at 2.5 hours.
Yeah, 2.5 hours. Some of that's going to get cut, but I was pretty stoked about
Great. I'm glad you liked it. You can get a chance to listen to it this Wednesday when it's being released, which is, hold on. January 22nd.
22nd. Yeah.
But today's the 19th.
I did that math in my head. Yeah. All right, everyone. Are we going to double record at some point?
We are. I just don't know when. We have to figure out some stuff and some things.
Yeah. Okay. All right, everyone. Hope you enjoyed. Have a good week. We'll see you.
He's waving right now, by the way. You can't see him, but he is waving at you listeners.
I know. I'm waving at the listeners. I'm showing the mic by hand. All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week.